test, 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 test. Test, test. So he says, they're ready. Just set.
Good afternoon. My name is Landon Collish, the Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 304. I am honored to serve as the Master of Ceremonies as we recognize 13 Scouts for their achievement in the rank of Eagle Scout. This is a great moment worthy of celebration. In their honor, I have lit the Scout Candle, the beginning rank in a journey of a Scout's journey to Eagle. I'd like to ask these Scouts to join me up front and recite one of the 12 points of the Scout Law, and then light a candle. Alex Camillo. Lucas.
Scout is trustworthy.
Lucas Daniels.
Scout is loyal.
Hunter Frankhauser.
Scout is helpful.
Will Hammer.
The scout is friendly.
George Azud.
Scout is courteous.
Tyler Lamberson.
The scout is kind.
Brennan Lummis.
The scout is obedient.
Drew Malden.
The scout is cheerful.
Robert Strickland.
The scout is thrifty.
We have 4 additional Scouts joining us via Zoom, and we want to make sure that they receive equal honor and recognition for achieving this honor. Barrett Howell, Connor Jones, JT Mulcahy, and Fritz Van Winkle. We light the brave, clean, and reverent candles in their honor. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Scouts, parents, and friends. Please be seated. We have dozens of special guests in the audience we would like to recognize, including grandparents, aunts, uncles, Scout executives, Lovett top brass, and the likes. But the clock is running, so I hope you will take time to meet these special guests following the ceremony. In honor of all our guests, I'd like to ask Mr. Portalamus, father of Eagle Scouts and an Eagle Scout himself, to light the Tenderfoot Ranks candle. Second class rank is earned by Scouts who have completed their basic outdoor and camping skills. I'd like to ask Mr. Kevin Link to light the second class candle. Mr. Link, our Scoutmaster Emeritus and father of 3 Eagle Scouts, Philip, Wesley, and Andrew, will also open today's ceremony.
Thank you, Landon. Welcome, Scouts, families, parents, aunts, uncles, Lovett top brass. Thank you guys for being here. Scouts, deep breath. You ready? So I know you guys have been through a lot. You've seen me countless times. You've seen Mr. Page countless times. We've all been working and waiting for this moment. So do your best, relax. There's a lot of parts to this ceremony, so once you get your phones in neutral, just sit back and relax and enjoy it, because you're only going to go through this once. So if I were predicting, I would say maybe, other than Porter, who went through it as a Scout and now his second son, most of you may not have been to an Eagle ceremony before. Mr. Hammer has been through one. We know he's an Eagle Scout, as is Mr. Page, but they're special. They're really unique. I've been associated with Lovett's scouting program for 23 years. And there's one thing that I don't mind taking a Sunday afternoon to do, and that is come and award Eagle badges to Scouts, because these guys are going to remember this the rest of their lives. And there's parts of this ceremony that hopefully you'll be able to recite as you move forward in time. And I always tell Scouts when they're in the office that, you know, at the age of 17, 16, you know, it's check the box sort of thing. I got it, I feel great. But as you move up in age, it means more and more and more. And Mr. Page and I share an office, and there's probably not a day where somebody doesn't make a comment about get the Eagle Scout. It could be fixing staplers or copiers or dealing with clients or complex situations, but it's comical how they always say, just get the Eagle Scout, because we can solve everything. And that's a nice burden to have. So, here we go. By the authority vested in me by the National Council of the Boy Scouts of America, I declare this Court of Honor to be open and duly convened for the sole purpose of presenting these Eagle badges to these young men. Gentlemen, this is what you've been working for the past, some of you 7, 8, 10 years. Many of them start at the age of 7. Tonight is your night. We're gathered here with your friends, your family, your peers, your fellow Zoomers to honor you on this very special occasion. In recognition to one of the duties of the 3 duties of scouting, the duty to God and country, we'd like to start tonight's ceremony with a prayer from our own Lovett School chaplain, and most importantly, father of an Eagle Scout, Reverend Steve Allen. Please rise for the invocation.
Kevin?
I do have to say that I am 100% certain my son would not have made Eagle Scout without this amazing troop and this incredible group of troop leaders. So thank you to all you guys. Let's bow for a moment of prayer. God, it is a blessing to be able to gather here today to celebrate these young men who have achieved the highest level of scouting. We give you thanks for the lessons learned, the badges earned, the relationships built, and the memories forged. We know that these young men have learned to appreciate some of the simple pleasures of life, like a hot meal when you're starving, and how good a sleeping bag feels when you're cold and exhausted. They understand what it means to persevere, exemplified by attaining this Eagle rank. We pray that they'll never forget what it took to achieve this goal, and our prayers that they will continue to use all the wisdom and experience they've gained to make the world around them a better place to live. Now we ask you not only to bless this ceremony, but that you continue to guide these young men as they use the gifts and tools they've developed to continue to serve you and others. Bless and be with us here today. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev Allen. The next rank on the Trail to Eagle is that of Star. A Star Scout is usually the most active, has completed all of the basic requirements for a high adventure scout, and is beginning to develop leadership skills. These scouts are considered the stars of the troop given their leadership roles. In honor of Star Scouts, I ask our Troop Scoutmaster and Eagle Scout, Dr. Keith Lamberson, to light the candle honoring Star Scouts. I would also like Dr. Lamberson to share with us the significance of Eagle Scout.
Thank you, Landon. Welcome, everyone. All right. In 1908, Lord Baden-Powell founded the Boy Scouts, and in 1912, the first Eagle Scout, Arthur Eldred, earned this award. Lord Baden-Powell's mission was simple: to create a program for boys centered around three duties: duty to God and country, duty to others, and duty to self. As part of this same oath that each boy reminded us earlier in the ceremony, I will ask our Eagle candidates to join me up front. I'm sorry, that off. We are here today to mark the end of a long journey on this Trail to Eagle. I'm fortunate enough to spend many hours and miles on the trail with each of these young men, and I'm honored to be part of the ceremony tonight. I'm especially pleased to be able to describe the significance of Scouting, a program that my family and I are proud to be part of. To put the significance of this journey in perspective, let's take a look at some of the statistics. Of all eligible Boy Scouts, only 4% will earn Eagle Scout. In 2019, over 10 million hours of service and $300 billion were generated by Eagle Scout projects. 17% of future Scouts will be leaders in their community. One Eagle Scout will save another person's life, and one Eagle Scout will save his own life based on skills he has learned in scouting. Eagle Scouts account for 12% of the Air Force Academy, 16% of West Point graduates, and 11% of Naval Academy cadets. And of 301 astronauts in this country, 40 were Eagle Scouts. There's no shortage of examples and anecdotal accounts that suggest Scouting produces better citizens. There's also scientific evidence. In 2012, an independent scientific study from Baylor University, the Department of Social Services, showed the Eagle Scout is associated with pro-social behavior and development of character that carries over to adulthood. The research proved that Eagle Scouts were more likely to volunteer, donate money to charity, vote, and work with others to improve their neighborhood than those not associated with Scouting. Eagle Scouts were found to be more goal-oriented, have higher levels of planning and preparation skills, and be more likely to take a leadership position at work or community. Eagle Scouts reported closer relationships with family and friends, and were more likely to participate in recreational activities. Tonight we honor 12 Scouts who beat the odds. We know well the things they have accomplished to earn this great achievement, and we can only imagine what you great Scouts will do in the future. Following the rank of Star is the rank of Life. Life is a tough rank for many reasons, most notably that you are one step away from Eagle. In Troop 304, we remind Scouts of this tough rank and warn them not to get caught as a Life Scout for life. While the other ranks seem to come according to plan, life slows down at Life. The requirements for Eagle are daunting as other distractions become stronger, such as cars, school, and girls. Mr. Gary Page, would you please come up and light the candle for life? This is in recognition of the Scouts who have made it tonight. Mr. Page is an Eagle Scout himself and has two sons who have earned Eagle Scout, Corey and Hayden. Mr. Page and Mr. Link are Eagle Scout advisors who guide these young men through the process to complete Eagle.
I'm up next. All right.
So usually you don't have the complete write-up of all these Eagle projects in your program tonight, so feel honored. But I'm going to try to give you a little more insight into these Scouts Eagle projects. Mr. Link and myself are the Eagle advisors, and we work closely with these guys. They don't get it perfect the first time, and we send them back, and they try again, and we send them back, and we send them back, but they're here tonight. Scouts must complete their Eagle project before they turn 18. Some of you at this ceremony were called to donate money to fund these projects. Some of you loaned your tools or donated your time to make these projects a success. I'd venture to say that a large percentage of the people witnessing this event had some involvement in their Eagle projects. Each Scout must write up and plan their project in great detail. It is not unusual, as I mentioned earlier, that we're going to send them back for revisions and corrections many, many times. Their Eagle project is not a walk in the park. It is intended to test the Scout and develop their planning and leadership skills. Skills they will continue to develop the rest of their life. They must also sit down and write their statement of ambitions, which gives the Scouts a chance to envision what their future will look like. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about these Eagle projects. Alex Miller. His team cleared a 1/4-mile long trail for the High Point Episcopal Church. They wisely completed this task in January, while the snakes, mosquitoes, and poison ivy were not a problem. Their timing also allowed residents and church members a place to exercise and walk during COVID. Lucas Daniels. Lucas spent many, many hours at the Marietta History Museum. He also spent many hours in our office as well, preparing for this. In fact, his team spent a total of 315 hours on his project. It's a record tonight. They laid down pavers and gravel and renovated the flag pavilion. Engraved bricks were even sold. This will be a project that Lucas's grandkids can come and admire. Hunter, City of Refuge, specifically the kids, were the recipient of a new Lego play area. They installed and painted 2 10-foot walls that would allow kids to build Legos on the wall. Hunter's group also collected Lego donations for use on this wall. Will Hammer, he made parent packs for the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Hospital. These are for parents that do not expect to spend the night at a hospital. I'm sure some of us have been there before. The packs have items such as a toothbrush, toothpaste, hairbrush, playing cards, and even crossword puzzles. Barrett Howell. His team built a stone grilling patio for the Stern House, used primarily for homeless addicted men. Barrett is very good at raising money, a skill that might come in handy later in life. In fact, he raised over $2,700 and bought the facility a nice grill and grilling tools. George Izzard. George is not the first Izzard to complete an Eagle project, so he had a high bar to reach. The city of Clarkston was the recipient of George's efforts, where his group installed a walk-up pantry at the Clarkston Community Center, allowing constant supply of food for the needy. George also mentioned that he tested positive for COVID, I believe right before his project, and you can imagine how you had to adjust for the COVID situation. But he's here today. Connor Jones, a lending library was built and placed in his neighborhood clubhouse, and his team also collected 800 books. That's a lot of books that were donated to Books for Africa. This project was completed just prior to COVID, so the folks at Hanover West had access to many fine books despite all the libraries in town being closed. Tyler Lamberson. Just around the corner from here, you'll see a revitalized lower school garden, new stone paths, a wooden bench, and a garden bed are some of the new amenities. Tyler proved that just because you are the son of a Scoutmaster, your project must be Eagle worthy, and his project definitely was. Brennan Loomis. The New Hope AME Church is quite thankful for these brothers. Brennan's brother had previously built a grilling station, and Brennan's team built a structure to protect that grill, complete with cedar beams and a tin roof. Drew Malden. Drew's team built a mounting ramp for disabled people to get on and off a horse at the Reins of Hope, which is located on Nancy Creek Road. Probably know where that is. Drew used to volunteer for this fine organization. He saw a need and filled it. Great job, Drew. J.T. Mulcahy. The Lovett School, once again, is the recipient of a hard work of our Eagle Scouts. J.T. constructed a reflection area in the lower school dell with new benches that will come in handy when teachers bring their students outside to read. Robert Strickland. COVID presented many roadblocks and hurdles for our Scouts to navigate. Robert went from teaching tennis lessons to providing a storage system for art supplies at the Elaine Clark Center for Kids with Special Needs in Chamblee, Georgia. Once again, we had to amend a little bit because of COVID. Fritz Van Winkle. Well, you guessed it, the Lovett School gets a new aquaphonic system for the upper school. So what is an aquaphonic system? It consists of a fish tank with goldfish and a garden growing mint. The waste from the fish feeds the mint in the garden. Perhaps you can find an upper school science student to further explain this, because that's as far as I can go. So these young men represent the true qualities of an Eagle Scout. Their combined man hours to complete these projects was 1,367 hours, and they raised thousands and thousands of dollars in doing that. As I mentioned previously, COVID threw many challenges their way, but these scouts persevered and are here today. Please congratulate them. Present.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Page. I would like to call back up our Scoutmaster Emeritus, Mr. Kevin Link, to issue the Eagle Charge.
Okay, here we go again, guys. Hopefully you noticed a couple of things as the ceremony has gone on. As Dr. Lamberson and Mr. Page and I were all called up, Landon said he is an Eagle Scout. So as you go through life, make sure you're prepared for that question. Weren't you an Eagle Scout? And you got to think about the timing and how you responded. But the answer is, I am an Eagle Scout. Not, I was an Eagle Scout. You are an Eagle Scout. As I was preparing for tonight's ceremony, I was reflecting on some of the resumes and your history with Troop 304. And what was amazing is how each of you got here and the differences between you, and yet the things that brought you together that were in common. That the stories are great, the backgrounds are impressive. Many of you athletes, scholars, musicians, but those things that are all in common are the long days on the trail, the swim test in 40-degree weather, sleeping in a tent with somebody snoring in the tent next door and never knowing whether you're going to get any sleep, or summer camp shaving cream fights, or Philmont, or the Boundary Waters of Minnesota, or water football, or the many, 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 many nights in sleeping bags freezing. Those are things that all of us have in common and are yet proud to say we went through all that and we're all here today as Eagle Scouts. Tonight, in your honor, I would like to ask Mr. Jim Bell, an Eagle Scout of Droop Malden, to light the candle for Eagle Scout. Do you remember what year you got your Eagle Scout?
1956.
1956. See there? You will always remember this occasion. As these boys go through their board of review, thank you, sir. As these boys go through their board of review, it's 30, 45 minutes of conversation with adults they've never met with in their life. I have the privilege of being a part of that board, and my job is to simply introduce the scout, and then I'm on mute. The scout defends themselves, presents themselves, talks about their project. And I wish you could all be flies on the wall during those 30 or 45 minutes. And I wish I could tape them and share them with you all, because again, it's why I'm here. It is, you feel good about what they've gone through and how they present themselves to questions that are completely off the wall. And a couple of them will ask me, how do I prepare? And my response is, you are prepared. You'll be fine. But it is absolutely amazing to see them go through this process and present their case in front of these adults. So tonight, Alex, Lucas, Hunter, Will, Barrett, George, Connor, Tyler, Brennan, Drew, JT, Robert, and Fritz, I have the pleasure of providing and delivering your Eagle Charge to get you to that rank of Eagle Scout. The Boy Scouts of all nations constitute one of the most wholesome and significant movements in the world's history. Over 100 years, and very little has changed, barely even the uniforms. You have been judged by the Boy Scouts of America and have been found worthy and deserving of this honor. All who know you are proud in your achievement. This Eagle Charge is something the Scouts and I have talked about a great deal, to think about the words that we use in this Eagle Charge. So relax, but listen to the words, and hopefully you will remember them. As you know, I feel pretty strongly about Eagle Scouts and scouting, and I hope you will as well. And pay attention to this charge as we go through it. The good news about this oath that you're about to take, not only is it solemn, but the good news is you don't have to memorize it and repeat it many times, except at Eagle ceremonies. Your position, as you well know, is now one of honor and responsibility. You are a marked man. As an Eagle Scout, you have assumed a solemn obligation to the duty of God and to your scouts and to all mankind. This is a great undertaking as you live up to this obligation. You bring honor to yourself and to all Eagle Scouts. America has many good things to give you, but those good things depend on a large part to the quality of the citizens. Our country has a great past. You can help it make a great future. I charge you to take your citizenship with serious dedication. Be a leader, but lead only toward the best. Lift every task you perform, every office you hold to the highest level, to God and to your fellow man. Live and serve by example, so that those you know will be inspired by what you do. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their skills and abilities to the common good of all. Continue to build America as solid foundation of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence for God. Regardless of what others may do, you are charged to leave behind a record of every Scout and American, so that every Scout and American would be just proud. So Scouts, I'd like to invite your Scoutmaster, Dr. Lamberson, back to the podium, who has the honor to present you with the Eagle Scout Promise and present you with the Eagle Scout Medal.
Thank you, Kevin. Eagle Scouts, you will now rededicate yourself to the principles of scouting by repeating after me the Eagle Scout Promise. Repeat it slowly. Resolve to uphold forever its principles with the same ambition and perseverance that you have brought with you thus far. Please stand. I would also like to invite any other Eagle Scouts in the room to please stand as well. And we rededicate ourselves to the principles of scouting. Scout sign. I affirm my allegiance to the three promises of the Scout Oath. I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself the obligations and responsibilities of an Eagle Scout. On my honor, I will do my best to take my training and example, my rank and my influence, count strongly for better scouting, and for better citizenship in my troop, in my community, and in my contacts with other people. To this I pledge my sacred honor. You may be seated. Thank you. And now, the moment you've worked for and waited for is finally here, the presentation of your Eagle Badge. I'm sure that you will agree that there is a couple of other special people you should enjoy the privilege with standing beside you tonight. As I call your name, I'd like you to join me up front, and I will ask your parents to join your son up front. We'll do this one Eagle Scout at a time, as is worthy of a celebration for each and a picture moment. Mothers, it is the tradition of an Eagle Scout mother to pin the award on her son. So when you come up, I will hand you the Eagle pins, and then the scouts and parents to follow Mr. Link to the sides of the scout hut. Okay, Alex Camillo. Congratulations. Lucas Daniels. Hunter Frankhauser. Will Hammer. George Izzard. Tyler Lamberson. Brennan Loomis. Drew Malden. Robert Strickland.
Which one? Okay, so those.
You're gonna go be with your family.
Yep.
So I'll make it. Oh, yeah, yeah, go ahead and you do that.
I want to also mention 4 other Eagle Scouts not here tonight. Once again, Barrett Howell, Connor Jones, J.T. Mulcahy, John's son, and Fritz Van Winkle. Congratulations.
So Dr. Lamberson, I want to be clear in my intentions that I am not coming back to join the troop as the Scoutmaster. However, in recognition of you and your son, I will give you the opportunity to be with Tyler as we do the next phase of the Eagle ceremony. So Scouts, parents, fellow members of the audience, for these guys to get to this point in their Eagle career, it takes a village. And we know these Scouts feel a strong sense of pride as they've gotten to this, and there's some folks that they'd like to thank. So although the moms do not get to walk the trail with them many times, they're nevertheless a very important part of the success of their sons to get to Eagle. So the first tradition in Troop 304 is that the Eagle Scout must give his mom a good bear hug. Now's the time. The second tradition is there's a pin that says Eagle Scout Mom. We'd like you guys to please present this to your mothers. Guys, as you well recognize, your dad often did walk the trail with you, but was likely the one snoring. Spent some of those nights freezing in his sleeping bag as well, but nevertheless stood by you on your trail to Eagle. In recognition of their fatherly advice and their support and companionship along this entire journey, we'd like for you to give your father the dad pin. Hopefully you can find some room on Bailey's jacket to add the third pin. So Mom received the honors of pinning the Eagle badge on their son. We'd also ask the dads if they would present the Eagle Bolo, remove the previous bolo that they received by joining Scouts, and then issue the Eagle Bolo and put it around their son's neck. So one other person that I'd like to recognize before I make the next statement, Mr. Trey Googe. Trey, stand up real quick. Trey is... So Trey also spent several years as Scoutmaster at Troop 304, and probably some of the years for you guys, I would assume. So as I make this next statement, by the authority in Mr. Googe, Dr. Lamberson, and myself, by the authority vested in us by the Boy Scouts of America, I declare you all Eagle Scouts in the highest tradition. Congratulations and Godspeed. Mom and Dad, please be seated. Scouts, take your spots. Turn this back over to Landon.
As is in our tradition, the court now invites tonight's honorees to offer his own personal reflections on becoming an Eagle Scout. Alex.
All right. So I want to start off by thanking my mom and dad for giving me the opportunity to join Boy Scouts in the first place. I would never imagine that after 12 years of scouting, that would be where I am today. And scouting has always been a blessing for me, as it was a way to create new relationships while learning important skills and life lessons that have shaped who I am today. I still remember the 3 summers I spent at Camp Raven Knob. At the time, it was pretty tough to stay motivated when I'd wake up in a puddle of water after forgetting to set up my rain tarp. But luckily, it was moments like these that I learned from and found a way to make the most out of. It's strange to me that at the time I didn't appreciate having the opportunity to go there, but now it's the place that I reflect on the most. Next, I want to thank all the Scoutmasters who have been there for me and have supported me, Mr. Link, Mr. Googe, and Dr. Lamberson. It seems like a pretty hard job to watch over and help young men develop into leaders and role models, but you all have done a phenomenal job. Finally, I want to thank Mr. Page and Mr. Link again for making the Eagle Scout project process much less stressful and guiding me in the process. It's an honor to join a group of such respected people, and I look forward to using what I have learned as I go off to college next year. I wish all the best to younger scouts who are in the same process that I was in just a few years ago. Thank you.
I don't know if I need that. Y'all have heard about my project. I guess what's left is to thank the people who really helped me get that sort of out there. First of all, my mom and my dad really helped me, I guess, get me here through Scouts, and they were a big driving force. Mr. Link, Mr. Page for helping me get the project, out there. Mr. Link, Mr. Googe, and Dr. Lamberson for being the leadership that really drove me to get here. And then finally, 2 of my buddies, Will Novak and Marshall Smith, who came out and helped me with my project in the pouring down rain in the middle of a pandemic. Without y'all, I really would not be standing here talking to y'all. So thank you.
Hi, I'm just gonna hold it. My time in Troop 304 started when I was 11, which was almost 7 years ago. And this journey to Eagle has been a very long and rewarding one. I'm grateful to the adults who guided me down every trail and helped me get all those merit badges, and dog care was my favorite one. My troop leaders had the patience of Job, considering my conduct and attention in middle school. Genuine thanks to Mr. Googe, Mr. Mulcahy, and Dr. Lamberson, who always encouraged me to keep going. They've made me feel like I could handle any task ahead. My favorite camping memory comes back to that huge rattlesnake at the FDR campsite, which my troop mates and dad can remember well. Through these traditional scouting experiences like scout camp, weekly meetings, merit badges, and service projects, I learned a lot about my friends and the world around me. I learned about how to treat others in the outdoors. In Troop 304, nature is respected and people are valued. When it came time to start working on my Eagle project, Mr. Link and Mr. Page gave me the direction and encouragement it took. They took a complicated project and gave me a roadmap to get started. They spent hours helping me come up with a plan that would work, and it did. I built a large wooden structure with a tin roof over a grilling station at New Hope AME Church, led by Pastor Richards. I feel lucky and grateful for Mr. Link and Mr. Page, who invested countless hours to ensure my success. I'm also grateful for my parents, who supported me through my scouting career. My dad attended countless camping trips and spent weeks at Boy Scout camp, which is impressive for anyone, much less anyone with his back. My mom helped me finish out partial merit badges and drove me and my friends to all those merit badges at Woodward and Lake Allatoona. And I would also want to thank my brother Frank for leading the way as my role model in Scouts and in life. My grandparents also need to be thanked. They lived lives of service and respect and grew up with scouting playing an important role in their families. My whole family worked hard toward this goal for me. And I will work hard to pay these kindnesses forward in life. As leaders talked about, it's important to remember the Scout Oath and Scout Law, not just in this hut, but out in the world. I'll continue to do a good turn daily and to be kind, honest, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm George Izzard, and I'd first like to thank all of you guys for coming out to celebrate us. It means a lot. And I'd also like to thank my mom and dad, Reverend Allen and Miss Sarah Buckley, for writing really thoughtful, eloquent, and genuine letters of recommendation. And I also have to thank one of the most available, enthusiastic, and efficient people I know, Mr. Kevin Link. It's one thing to be a highly effective person, but it's also, what makes Mr. Link so amazing is that he helps other people get things done as well. I'd like to thank Mr. Page, who did a great job of summarizing my Eagle project. I first went to the Clarkston Community Center in 7th grade with the middle school service day, and I went back for my brother Mac's Eagle project. And the city of Clarkston is an amazing place. People call it, it's a sanctuary city where 40% of residents are foreign-born and more than half live in poverty. So the community center, they call it a refugee for refugees, and it helps provide education, recreation, and a sense of community for people there. If anybody ever goes to volunteer there, I invite you to bring non-perishable foods or canned goods to put in the pantry. As Mr. Page said, I did get sick right before my project, which postponed everything to a much less convenient time, but we made it. I'm very glad we're all done. I had a great time in scouting. I loved summer camp. I'm really lucky to have been able to do it with my older brothers, and I look forward to helping my little brother James do it as well. Thank you.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about my project, and more specifically, why I chose it. So I wanted to pick a project in a field that I'm passionate about, which for me was aviation, and that ended up being beneficial not just for me, but for many others as well. With the lasting impact that my project will have, and I don't think this was mentioned, but the memorial brick sale, since we sold memorial engraved bricks for the project, that sale is ongoing and will act as a long-term fundraiser for the museum. And so, because of that, my project will have even more of a lasting impact, especially when it comes to educating members of the community in a field that I'm passionate about, that being aviation. And so, my biggest takeaway from this is that I'd like to, in the future, be able to have leave further impacts similar to my project, and use the skills I learned in the process of becoming an Eagle Scout in doing so in the future.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and supporting all of us. I'd like to start off and thank my dad for helping my Eagle project, but also thank my mom for going on countless camping nights, because most people have the dad go, but for me it was my mom. My favorite memory in scouting was the last camping night. It was the car camping night, and when we got there, I set up my tent, and when we got back to the car, I realized I left my keys in the car, along with all my mom's clothes. And so my dad the next morning had to come up and help us. I'd like to thank Mr. Link for helping me speed run the last couple months of scouting, because I know for a fact I would not be able to be here without you. Thank you, everybody.
How's everyone doing? I'd like to first start off by thanking my dad, who not only as my parent has been a role model in my life for as long as I can remember, but also as the Scoutmaster has taught me almost everything I know, as well as YouTube, but he's taught me most everything I know. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Link and Mr. Page, who spend their own time to volunteer and help me get to Eagle. I'd also like to recognize my grandfather, who could not make it to the ceremony in person, but I know is listening online right now. Every week he calls me and he would ask, "Hey Tyler, how's the project going?" And I'd always want to give him a better update and not just say that I haven't done anything. I'd also like to recognize my mom. I know I don't thank her enough because I'm usually trying not to get yelled at. But I'd like to thank her for all the time she's spent with me and dedicated to this process. She took many extra trips to the store during the project to grab things that I forgot. And that leads me to the thing that I learned the most in scouting, especially in the project, is that no matter how hard you plan for something, there's always going to be something that you forget. And it gave me a newfound understanding for my father and everyone who plans out our campouts and even our troop meetings, because I never realized how hard it was to plan for a group setting. I actually remember one time George at my project came up to me and said, "Hey Tyler, how do we put this garden bed together? We're having some trouble with the ground's not level. How are we going to fit these pieces together?" And I looked at him and I said, "George, I have no idea." But I said, "You know what, we'll figure it out." And so together we were able to figure it out, level the ground, and get everything together. But that's the thing I really took away from scouting the most, is you're never really going to know all the answers, but you can figure it out. And that problem-solving skills is what I learned the most. And I'd like to leave you all with a quote, famous quote from Gandhi, which is, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." We'd all like to have a safer, happier, and healthier world, and we can't all wait for someone else to do it. And I've learned how much we can all do when we really work together. Thank you.
Over the last 7 years, Scouting helped mold me into the person that I am today. Scouting instilled in me so many values that I believe are very important and crucial in one's life. Scouting taught me life lessons and life skills that will help me down the road. And most importantly, Scouting taught me how to be a man. I've learned so much about so many different things, such as camping, cooking, wilderness survival, and even dentistry and law. As a result, I've become a much more well-rounded person, and I have Scouting to thank. Being more well-rounded, I was able to execute my Eagle project, which Mr. Page adequately described, where I created over 200 care packages for parents not expecting to spend the night at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Hospital. This was more than 4 times the amount of packages that I originally planned. And I was very glad I was able to impact so many people, and I have Scouting to thank. I'm also thankful for lots of the friends that I've made during my time and the leaders of the troop that I've worked with along the way. You all have made my Scouting experience overall much more enjoyable, and I have nothing but respect for our troop's leaders that facilitate everything that we do. However, so much of what I've learned in Scouting has all been possible because of my dad and my mom. Dad, I've spent a good part of my Scouting experience with you, whether it was something as small as driving me to the Scout Hut or going on the monthly campouts with me. I've you to thank for all the values that I've learned in Scouting, the very same values that I watch you exhibit every single day. And to Mom, I have you to thank for my Scouting experience as well. You pushed me to get my merit badges and my Eagle project done. You taught me so much about my work ethic. I have you to thank more than anyone throughout my entire Scouting process. If you don't already know, the Boy Scout motto is be prepared. I can safely say that Scouting has adequately taught this extremely important motto to me, and I plan on using it for the rest of my life. And it's a great honor to finally become a 3rd-generation Eagle Scout. Thank you.
My grandfather in the back would like everyone to know this is exclusively thanks to him that I'm up here right now. I'm kidding. I would like to thank, I would very much like to thank Mr. Link and all the Scoutmasters that have helped me along the way. I felt lost a lot of times throughout the way, so I'd like to thank all the dads and parents that helped on all the camping trips and at the meetings and everything. It's meant a lot. For my project, like Mr. Page said, I got to work with the City of Refuge, and there weren't any kids there when we were working on the weekend, but it was really nice the week after we finished the project, seeing them on Twitter posting pictures of the kids building Legos and really working on their creativity. It was just really rewarding to see that and how it's played out in their community. My favorite memory from Scouting probably came from Scout Camp one year when I was taking the fishing merit badge, and one of the requirements was to catch a fish. And we'd gone a couple days fishing and no one had caught anything, and I was not about to leave that week without catching a fish. And so I went to like a different spot from everyone, and I felt a little tug, and I reeled it in, and on the end of the line was a frog. And it didn't count, sadly, but I ended up catching something later the next day. And then also, a couple days ago, when I was playing Jeopardy, one of the questions was, what was the Boy Scout motto? And so I was pretty proud to know that one, be prepared. So you never know what it'll get you, maybe a few points on Jeopardy. But finishing my first year of college, it's been really great to see how it's already played out in my life, and what I've learned is, I'm really thankful for it and happy to be here.
I now call on Mr. Portalomus, father of 2 Eagle Scouts, Frank and Brennan, to provide the closing benediction.
Thank you.
Before providing the benediction, there's some other folks that we'd like to recognize. Some key individuals without whose help this ceremony could not have taken place. This is an important day in the lives of these young men, but it's an important day in the history of this troop as well. After 15 years, Gary Page and Kevin Link are retiring as Eagle advisors. During their tenure, Troop 304 has seen nearly 150 of their scouts become Eagles. It's incredible to think of the difference you've made in all these individuals. We also want to recognize current Scoutmaster Keith Lamberson and his predecessor, Scoutmaster Trey Googe, who led this troop during the time these scouts completed their path to Eagle. Lastly, we also want to recognize John Mulcahy, who was a leader for this troop during the many years these scouts participated on their journey to Eagle, providing leadership during troop camping trips and in scout meetings, and also tracking the advancement to Eagle Scout along the way. Thank you very much. And now, as a token of our appreciation, the troop has some gifts we'd like to give to you. And I think Gary is headed out the door, so if you'll take care of his, take him back to the office.
I know what it is.
It's non-alcoholic. All right, and now for the benediction, if you'll please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, our children are a message we send to a future we will not see. To that end, we thank you for guiding these young men to the Boy Scouts and providing their motivation, discipline, and perseverance toward obtaining the rank of Eagle. We know, Lord, that being an Eagle Scout is a lifelong responsibility, and we pray that the lessons learned and values obtained during this journey will serve them well during their lifetime, and that they will be a positive influence on others along the way. May your blessings continue to be with this troop, its leaders, its sponsors, and parents, as they continue to train young men to become outstanding leaders and citizens. Please dismiss us with your blessing. We pray in your name. Amen.
All right, I have a few people to thank as well. I would like everybody to give Landon a hand for doing a great job for us. Eagle Scouts, congratulations. As I remind the boys often, there are many people involved in the scouting troop that you don't meet. You don't see what they do in the background, but they do a lot of work to help you achieve this honor. JT Mulcahy has been an assistant scoutmaster. Carrie Izzard's back here, Katie Malden, Trey Googe. Wright Mitchell is backpacking yesterday and this morning as I couldn't attend. Bob Hammer's here. In addition to Elizabeth Judd, records keepers like Michelle Neville, Andrea Jones, our registrar, Ms. Cole, and Lovett, our sponsor. So please, at every opportunity, thank those adults and our support network for all their help in Troop 304. At this time, too, I'd like Trey to come up, and he has a couple words to say as well. And then after that, we would declare this Court of Honor closed and thank everyone for attending.
I'm not normally lost for words, but I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to talk about two guys, but only one of them's here in the room right now, and that's Kevin Link. And I've got to tell a story about a very poorly disguised ambush that was executed on me, and then I later helped execute the same ambush on Keith Lamberson. But having come up from in scouting, I got involved as soon as my son joined the troop, and you just show up and start helping. And I'd been around Boy Scout troops enough to know that the minute you do that, there's a target on your back, and the polite word for it would be an invitation coming your way. And I was happy to do that. I spent 3 years in my sweet spot, which was as Kevin's lieutenant, where I would have been happy to stay. But when the troop's scoutmaster, the Eagle advisor at the time, Gary Page, and our chairman, close friend of mine that's no longer with us, Ed McCready, invited me to a dinner at Bones, I knew something was up, because Bones is not really a part of scouting. And that's when they asked me to step into Kevin's shoes, which I did. They were awfully big shoes, and I don't know if I filled them, and I did it for 3 years. Now, Kevin did it for 9 or 10. But he has 3 sons. I only have 1, so my argument was it was 3 years per son. Probably the biggest day for me was when my own son made the Eagle. The second biggest day is when Keith responded favorably to our own ambush of him at Bones, because we had identified him. I was on the top of the mountain with a bunch of kids. It was cold, the wind was blowing, we needed a fire, and one brand new dad just kind of built the fire, and I'm like, all right, let that name go. But Kevin re-upped again, so I suspect he showed up and without the big job for a couple of years, and then he essentially led the troop for a decade, and then he and Gary stepped into the Eagle advisor role. One of the reasons Troop 304 has had such incredible success in this area is because of Gary and Kevin's commitment. So it's a well-earned retirement. There's also probably a retirement in Keith's future, so you all need to help us be part of the recruiting for that. But if you I had a conversation last week with the chief executive of the council, and he referenced Troop 304 being one of the best in the nation. And that really is the legacy of the commitment that Kevin and people like Gary have made. So he's finally throwing in the towel. He's going to go fully enjoy his scouting retirement, because his youngest son is how many years away from Eagle? 6, 7? How long is it? I mean, you've been a long way away.
I don't know. It keeps changing. Probably 7 years.
So really, the story that would capture Kevin's commitment it came from the mouth of the scout. He's on a camping trip somewhere, and camping trips are chaotic for scoutmasters. There's no hammocks and camp chairs. It's just work. And one of the young scouts looks at Kevin and he says, you do such a good job at this, and you're working so I can't even tell which one of these boys is your kid. And he said, well, my son is not here this weekend. And the kid looked at him with a straight face and he said, they must pay you a lot of money. So we had a Scoutmaster retirement for Kevin a couple of years ago. This is his Eagle Advisor retirement, and I have a gift. The troop has a gift for both Kevin and Gary, but COVID has affected lead times for a lot of important things. So it's on order, it's committed, it's in process, but it's not in hand. But it will be something you can enjoy at the lake, and no physical activity is required. So thank you, Kevin and Gary.
With that, I think we can call this a fitting end to the ceremony. I'd like to also thank the moms for organizing, putting together the ceremony this week. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Boys, when you step away, please each put out a candle for me. Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Reach down and do it with your hand.